The stream broke a little bit, I guess, but we were fine. So what I'll do next is I'll go into that folder. Then what I want to do now is to just create a simple Hello World application. So I will go ahead and say .NET new console. I can just say .NET new console and it will go ahead and generate that program for me. But what I want to do is I want to customize the name of my program. So what I'll do, I'll put an argument, say dash O, and I'll give it a name, say, let me call this Hello World. So .NET new console Hello World. So what it does is it creates a folder called Hello World and creates that program inside the Hello World folder for me. So if I hit enter, it will go ahead and create that program for me. So if I look here, I'm able to see that folder Hello World, and I can see the files it generated for me in here. Alright, so I'm just waiting for the restore process to complete now, and then we can get started. So what I'll do next is I will just a moment. Something's wrong over here. Okay, good. So I'll go ahead into go into that folder. So I will say go into Hello World, and I can just do a .NET run from here. So if I do a .NET run simply means compile this program and execute it. So if I go .NET run, it should output out Hello World for me. As you can see over here, you can see Hello World is outputted to the console for me. So let's just now go ahead and look into what was actually generated for us and understand what it's like to actually write a C# program, because this was automatically generated for us. So what I'll do is I will open up code inside this folder and I'll type code dot. Code dot simply means open Visual Studio Code inside this directory. So open all files inside this directory. So I'll go ahead and do that, and it will launch the VS Code I installed. So if you're on Mac on Linux, the command might be different, but because I'm on Windows, I can do such awesome stuff. So what I want to do is increase the zoom here. So I'll go ahead and WSL extension, I really don't need this. So now this is what our program looks like. Let me just do a little bit of more zoom into that. This is what our program looks like. We have the hello.cs proj. That is the manifest that contains everything about our application. And if you look here, it's asking me to install the C# extension for VS Code, which comes in pretty handy because it comes with IntelliSense, comes with some very other or something. So I might just go ahead and install it anyways. So I'll just go ahead and make sure that is installed for me. Uh-oh. I'm not sure why that problem came up. Probably because I'm not in a real Windows-ish environment. But anyways, let's just proceed. So I have this manifest for my C# project, and here we have the bin folder, which contains all the necessary build artifacts for our program, and we have the obj folder that contains the object folder. But let's just keep all that for now. So it's downloading the C# C# tool for VS Code so that it can do my configurations for me properly. So yeah, so if I open program.cs now this is what actually executed. This is the code executed when we did .NET run over here. Remember when we did .NET run over here? Program.cs was the file that actually ran. And you can see here it says console.writeline hello world, and hello world is the output we got. So we got this output that says hello world, and that is what we have over there, and you can see it over here. So let's just go ahead and now analyze what this looks like. So now, using system that you see up here is called a directive. So a directive simply means, instead of having to call the program by its full name. You can abbreviate. For example, you can go ahead and call me. So let's say I'm in a family setting. I'm with my family. I have a nickname. You can go ahead and call me by that nickname. I will answer you. Or you can call my full name. I'll still answer you, of course. But I will need to reference that parent library to be able to call that nickname. For example, let's say you want to send me on an errand. Let's say you're not related to me or you're not part of my family. You want to ask for a sort of favor. And there are some things you need to do. So you need to call that family name before you are able to call me. So system is the family name, and then actually what now happens is console is actually part of the system family of code. So what happens now is I can directly call console.writeLine. So let's just assume I remove this, okay? Let's assume I remove this. Normally our program would not run. You will see it will give us an error. Let us try to do .NET run from here again. Our program would not run. So you see the error soldiers that says console does not exist in the current concept, in the current context. So what happens is that I'm trying to call console, but I have not referenced it in the context of the family of libraries it belongs to. So what happens now is if I bring system back and I try to run, I will be able to actually now build again because I've called that system. And I can so decide to call it by its full qualification. So let me just do a little bit of thing. I will explain all the stuff I'm doing here later on. So I can decide to call it by its full name and say system.console.writeLine, and then I run this again. And now see I'm going back and forth between VS Code and my command line. I'm normally not supposed to be doing that, but I just want to show stuff here. So what I can do now is let me go back into my VS Code. What I can do is inside VS Code there's a terminal that lets us run. So let me just skip this. So that lets us run our code, our commands inside VS Code. So and that is the terminal, and you can see it over here. I'll just start a new terminal right over here. So let me collapse this to one side and move this a little bit downwards. Okay, so now I can run all the commands I've been running inside here. So if I do .NET run, I can do everything. So I can get rid of this command window. I can totally get rid of it. Okay, so now remember, this is where we stop. We were able to call console by its full name even without having to import the system library. But using that system library comes in and when you have to call it a number of times for multiple number of times as need be. So it comes in handy at that point in time. So normally I'll advise, if you want to be using the console a number of times, just go ahead and you can see you see this squiggly line here right under here. Let me zoom into that a little bit. Okay, this squiggly line over here, so it's telling us the console does not exist in the current context, and you can pick into the problem, and even because I've installed the SDK and all the tools needed, you see this light bulb over here. It's telling me the things I can do to actually solve that problem, and it's telling me to actually import this system library, or I can call it by its full name, but I'll just go ahead and import that system library, and that problem should go away totally. Now let's drill a little bit inside it more. Now we've talked about the directives. Now let's talk about this namespace. This namespace is what identifies your program. So I can have multiple C# files inside here. If they belong to the same namespace, it means I can call them together. Namespace is just like the family it belongs to. For example, I like using family when I do examples of C# and whatever, because it's what I can relate to. Now, when different programs, when different C# files or application code belongs to the same library, they can call each other directly without doing any sort of importation. For example, Now this is a little bit beyond the scope for beginners, but let me just dwell a little bit more into it. So let's say I have sample.cs over here. I put it in the namespace of family, in the namespace of hello world, and let's say I have a method called don't mind any rubbish I'm typing here. I will come back to it. Uh, oh, sorry, I missed some stuff over here. It's been long I did this over here. So I'll call this sample, and let me just go ahead and move this in here. Okay, so what happens now? Remember, it's in this namespace, right? So what happens is within the same context, within the same assembly, I can call sample. So I can say sample dot, I'm able to call it just like that because they belong to the same family. So let me just, if I were to put static in front of this, we'll explain the static thing as we go further. I can call that program without actually initializing it. So I can say now sample dot, you can see ci comes up over here. But let me so that is the concept of namespaces. So let me just go ahead and delete this one, and let's go back to our program file. So the namespace is the family or the assembly, the grouping that you can use to classify your program. Okay, so going ahead now a little bit more, we see this class here. So class is what defines the the actual thing, the blueprint of what we want to do. So the class has a name. You can say program.csa as the class program. So most times the name of your C# file will most likely be the name of your class. It's giving a sort of suggestion here, but let's ignore that. Now it now comes to the main program. Now for your console application, the main method. Now this is the method here. What we have over here is a method. So the main method is the entry point to our application. So it goes ahead and say you could actually leave this blank. It would still work, but by default it just comes here. So what is inside here? This string bracket args, yeah, it has its name. It's called parameters. So parameters to the main method. We will actually deal a lot more with this as we go further. Okay, so that is the main method, and that is the entry point for any console application. Any console application, that the main method is the entry point for it. All right, so going ahead now, so that is what it looks like. So we have and inside the method now we can now start issuing our commands and doing stuff as we need to have it. And inside here we see it as console.writeLine. So what it means is it's telling the console console class or console field to actually output whatever is inside this bracket. So I could have changed this to say hello Dara. Okay, so whatever is inside here is what it actually outputs. So if I were to do a .NET run on this over again, what happens is the text inside here changes into whatever I get going on. Okay, so moving on. So we can even decide to customize this and say we want to output, say, whatever the user inputs into the console. So what I would do is I will introduce a variable. But we'll be doing variables maybe next week because time has really gone a little bit and I don't want to keep us too long. So I can say var no, let me even do this. Console.readline. I will explain this. Okay. So I will say output this user input. All right. So what happens in this case is that if I run this now, you see here I'm using this console again, and I'm using read line. Here I'm using write line. What happens is the console class actually has a number of methods, a number of functions it can perform. So a method in C# is like a verb, actions it can perform. Okay, so I'm telling, it's just like saying I'm streaming. Streaming is the action I'm performing, and I am Dara. So Dara.stream, Dara is streaming, Dara.talk, Dara.wave hands, Dara.type, Dara.do stuff. Okay, so that is what it is doing here, because it's an entity that can actually perform multiple tasks depending on whatever was specified by whoever wrote that library. Okay, so that is it. So I'm telling the console now to read line, and that is what it will go ahead and do for me now. So if I were to do a .NET run now, it will wait for me to type something and hit enter on my keyboard. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Let me pull this up. All right, so pulling this up now, let me just say Dara Oladakbo is streaming C#. You can see it just outputted it out directly for me, and yeah, I can go ahead and customize whatever input I got. So let me switch this up a little bit now. I'll explain this concept much later, but I just wanted to set the foundation for today. So we've been able to cover that you need a .NET SDK, you need VS Code at least minimum to run. So let me do a little bit of, if you're a beginner, this might look like magic to you, but it's not. It's just C#, and it's pretty neat. So let me just do this. You typed no, it's about to run. Awesome. Okay, so let's do that again. Okay, so let's out input and then you can see whatever I put here is whatever with what outputted to me. Now you can see what I did there. So let me just explain a little bit of what I did, even though I'll explain it much more in coming streams. So what happened here was that I used a variable inside this whole thing. So this is a string literal. So I'm able to use this here, but not to confuse us, I will not explain all the concepts here. So let me just make sure my code is clean. Let me make sure I have pretty clean code, because clean code is necessary. They say cleanness is next to godliness, so it's good to have clean code. I like to have my code neat and spicy. Yeah, so that is it. So that is our first program in C#. I'm not sure what the time is now. It's almost 9:30. And I guess most of us will probably be feeling sleepy now. So yeah, so that is a C# program in a nutshell. So I think I should just treat one more concept, and then we can call it a close for today. But of course we'll continue this next week. So let me now go ahead. Let me actually close Visual Studio Code now. Okay, you can see my Hello World program here. So what I actually want to do now is, you see this, when I was installing VS Code earlier on, I said we should check all the boxes, and you can see here I can say open with code. So I open this old folder inside VS Code, and then what I want to do, I don't even want to install the BSL, please. What I want to do now is I want to add a new folder here, and I'll call this variables, or let me call it, let's call it data types and variables. Okay, all right. Don't ask again, thank you. All right, so let me drill down into that folder. Just a moment, I think I typed something wrong. Yeah, so I'm in that folder now. So what I want to do now is do a .NET new console, and then what happens is it generates a new C# program for me inside there. So now let's drill a little bit into this now. So let me just close this. So remember, .NET New generates a console program for us. Now, what I did earlier on, I said var user input equals console.readline. What actually happened was that I used a generic variable. So it's whatever comes in is what it outputs. And this is what this console.readline does. So now, by default, when you do console.readline, it inputs anything from the console which comes in a form of a string or text, a stream of characters. All right, so that is what happened there. So this is the generic variable in C# and use the var word to connote that. But so let me just copy this and paste it over here. Yeah, in programming we'll copy and paste a lot. So don't be ashamed if you copy and paste. Copy and paste is the savior of the world. Okay, so let me just let me input that again here. So now I said this is a generic input. So I'll just comment this here. Of course, I'll put this code to GitHub later on. So let me call this generic variable. Okay. So generic variable, and then I will so I'll just let me delete this one. All right. Deleted the generic variable thing. Okay. So what I want to do now is in C#, you know, in normal life, we have different ways of quantifying things. 2 bowls of rice, 5 bottles of water, all those kind of things. They are units. So also in C# we have those units, and these are what is termed variables. So variables are data type. So they are like the units of measurement in programming. So and we have a number of them. The first set of ones are numbers. Let me just comment these numbers. So we have integers connoted by int, and we have a couple of them. We have int, which is the normal int 32. We also have int 64. You can see them over here. So we have the normal int, we have int 16, 32, 64. We'll deal with this a little bit more, and when it's appropriate to actually use them. So, but generally for starters, you can just start with just int. So you can say int my lucky number equals, say, 12. Even though that's not my lucky number, I don't go and try it though. Okay, so now so integers are numbers without decimal points. They are numbers with no floating points, and that's what they are. So if I were to do 12.34 here, there will be problem. And let us actually try and see what problem we will pose for ourselves if we try to do that. So let's try to output my lucky number to the console. So let me go ahead and start the terminal again. So I'll go to, I was inside here. Thank you. So I'll just do a .NET run, and we should actually see that our program would give us an error, because a number with floating point is most likely a double. So what happens is, if I wanted to use decimal points, I'll use another data type. Okay, so I will now say I can say double my other lucky number. So let me call it my lucky double. My lucky double. So let me clear this off and say 12.34. Now let me say a number of things here. You see that I am ending every line that I'm writing with a semicolon. So in C#, any statement or any string of characters that end with a semicolon is a complete statement. So in C# we have statements, we have expressions, we have fields, we have all those kind of things. So this is a statement saying that it ends with a semicolon. This is another statement. Now, this can be on the same line. This could have been on the same line, sort of. So if I were to do this, uh, they are still two separate statements to C sharp, but for neatness sake, it's advisable to actually separate them. Okay, so so let me do this. Hold on, because I don't want to type. I'm too lazy to type tonight. So just hold on a little bit. So what I want to do here is let me paste this in here. Um, I'll explain string a little bit later now. Let me just okay. Uh, and shift from control C. Okay, now. So I will say, let me now try to output this to my console now, since I'm almost actually sure it works. So what I'll do here, um, so I'll say my lucky number is of data type int. Okay, so let's try and actually run that. Just a moment, let me comment this out. Mm, Let me try and collapse this one. Aha, you see here? Oh, what's going on? Aha. No, 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 no. I didn't type nothing. I think it's still building. So you can see it's actually giving us a warning here. It's saying the variable my lucky double is assigned but was never used. So if you wouldn't be using some variables in C sharp, try to not declare them or comment them out, as the case might be. So let's just go ahead and try that again. Oh, I missed something. It was expecting an input here. My bad. Okay, so it's outputting to us say 12, which is of data type. So 12, see this. 12 is of data type int, so 12 is an integer. So let us try now for double. So let me just duplicate this line. Uh, my lucky double is of data type double. If I try that, you will see it's changed. Now, what I want to do is, don't let me be the one to actually tell you what data type it is, but let me actually go ahead and say, and tell the system to actually output it for us, right? So, I'll say, what I'll do here, I'll say, just a moment, my lucky number dot get type, okay? And I'll do the same over here. My lucky double dot get type. Now the system C sharp itself will actually tell us what data type it is. All right, so let's try. Let's go ahead and try that now. And you can see 12 is of data type system.int32, which is still an integer. 12.34 is of data type system.double. All right. And also let us try now strings. Strings. and characters. Okay, I need to move this down here. Okay, all right. So let's try to fix that up now. So if I do, so what I need to do is now say string, or let's start with car. So car is actually a single character string. So I can say car, my car, not car that we drive, equals. Now let's cause some problem here. Maybe not. Or let me comment these ones out so it doesn't interfere with whatever we got going on. Also, let me comment these ones out and let me collapse some lines so there can be world peace. Okay, so I can say, let me just copy something here. Okay, let me try to run this again. Huh? You see there's a problem. Now, when I'm defining car, there's a little bit of a difference between character and string. In saying that if I'm declaring something as a character, it has to be in single quotes. Okay, and that was sort of intentional. So if I were to run this again, you will see the problem would go away, and you can see that. So if I were to do it for strings now, my string equals my string. So let me call this Dara. Okay, and let me try to run that now. Uh, so I would say, let me just copy and paste this line now. My string, right, and let me comment this one. So you can see telling me that other is of type system.string. But if I were, let's try and cause some little problem here. You will see the difference between strings and characters. You even see it's not allowing me to go because there are too many characters in my literal. So I cannot do that. So you see that little difference between characters and strings. All right. So that is, so most times these are some of the data types you'll be using. Of course, there are more data types in C#. You can even define your own custom ones, and that is what we'll be getting into next week, next on this stream, because I wouldn't want to keep us too much. But of course, all these code samples, I will put them on GitHub. All right, so I'll put all this code on GitHub. So let me just try and actually put them on GitHub now. Where's my browser? So just give me a little bit of moments to get that up. So let me just create the repo and push stuff up. So I'll just create a new repository. I'll call it C# class. I don't like that name. C# class. So this is where all the repositories or whatever we need to do will be coming to. So let me just create a repository. Then so if you go to github.com, no, let it be done creating and then I will show us. So if you go to here, github.com/Dara Oladapo, you will be able to see Okay, I think some things have gone off again. Let me just be sure. Uh, just a moment. I'm almost done, don't worry. But of course, if you just go to github.com slash Dara, you'll be able to find all the source code of everything I've done here. So it will be the latest repository I actually pull up. Let me try and see if something's changed. So some things have been broken here. But anyways, I think it's kind of notifying me that I should have ended this stream a long time ago. But of course, I will post the link later on. So let me actually try to put that here. Um, just a moment. Let me try to put the link of the repository here in the chat window for everyone to see. I'll just wait for that to come up. All right, so it will be live here. That is where the source code for everything will be. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. So guys, thank you for joining. I know it's been a long 1 hour, but that is what I got going for today with C Sharp. So we were able to walk through um, downloading your SDK, downloading VS Code, and also getting started writing your first C Sharp application, and also we introduce the concept of variables and data types. So next week we'll be going a little bit deeper, and I pray my devices don't mess up on me. Uh, so I'm sorry about that today. Some stuff I was supposed to take care of earlier that I didn't. But yeah, so next week will be another time. But of course, I stream every Wednesday now and Saturdays. So I'll try to keep up with the Wednesday schedules. Because when I woke up today, I even forgot I was supposed to stream. But I know Saturday is kind of muscle memory for me now. So every Wednesday and Saturday I stream. Saturdays by 3 p.m. You can follow me on any of the channels you see up here, and you can listen to my podcast. This Dev Life. New episode is coming up tomorrow afternoon. So guys, thanks for joining. Even though I have no viewers right now, but you can always come back and watch these ones. So thanks for joining. I will see you again next week. Bye bye.